Ladies and gentlemen, today, when it comes to Vietnam, many people imagine it as a tourist paradise with white sand and blue sea. But if you just pay a little attention, you will see the exact opposite. In Geneva, you can wear a sign saying Switzerland wants to join the NATO. In Paris, you can shout Macron resign, and no one will do anything to you. But in Vietnam, it's completely different. If you wear a t-shirt with the words respect press freedom, you could have to say goodbye to your beloved family for 10 years or more. I can assure you that I'm not exaggerating or spreading propaganda. Many unimaginable things happened to me, things that I thought would never happen before I became a prisoner of conscience. My name is Pham Minh Hoang. I'm 67 years old. When I was young, I witnessed a lot of suffering from the war between North and South Vietnam. I have seen wives and mothers break down in tears as they welcome their husbands or sons back from war in a coffin. And all those painful images haunted the soul of a 13-year-old teenager forever. Since then, I had a dream. I dreamt of going to France to study and after the war, to return home to help rebuild my country. In November 1973, my dream came true. I went to Paris to study. Before parting, my mother hugged me and said, "I gave birth to you 18 years ago, but this is the first time I don't know where you will sleep tonight." In tears, I told myself that no matter what, I will return to Vietnam to fulfill my dream. 2 years later, on April 30, 1975, the war ended, and the whole country fell into the communist regime. I had a mental breakdown because I knew my dream had completely shattered when I saw millions of boat people escaping the country. Hundreds of thousands of people who stayed were sent to hard labor camps and left rodent to die. That was when I started to write. I wrote many papers on the tragedies of the Vietnamese people. My articles covered a wide range of topics, including education, environmental protection, human rights, and labor rights. When the people of Eastern European countries overcame their fear and overthrew communism, my childhood dream came back to life. And after 27 years in France, I decided to return to Vietnam. In Vietnam, I worked as a math professor in a university for 10 years. I can honestly say this was the best time of my life. I gotta do what I love, teaching and passing on knowledge to future generations. However, life did not turn out the way I expected. The police began to monitor me when they learned that I kept in contact with members of Viet Thanh, a pro-democracy group that advocates building a free and democratic Vietnam by peaceful means. In January 2010, I organized a soft skills class for young people. These are important skills for new graduates. They include public speaking, team building, conflict solving. All of this knowledge is extremely useful, but it's not taught in universities in Vietnam. When the police learned about my soft skills class, they arrested me in August 2010. When I was arrested, I was very worried for myself and my family. I did not know why I was arrested. Over the course of many months, I had to go through extremely intense interrogations. Through those questions, I found out that security police had absolutely no idea about my blog until I told them. At first, they were very happy because they thought they had found a reason to prosecute me. But looking at more than 30 of my articles, the police were completely disappointed because these articles were only intended to promote democracy and environmental protection. There was absolutely nothing about subverting the government. Nevertheless, the police still accused me of not telling the whole truth. They went to the university and tried to pressure my students to sign a petition accusing me of discussing politics and recruiting people for Viet Thanh. However, the majority of my students refused. They said frankly, if our teacher is guilty, let the law judge him, but we cannot denounce what he did not. I would like to add, according to Vietnamese law, for crimes of political nature, prisoners do not have the right to see a lawyer before the investigation ends. And so it was only a few days before the trial that I got to see my lawyer. I thought this meeting would just be my lawyer, but when I walked in the room to see my lawyer, I was shocked to see there were several political security officers present. All conversations were videotaped and recorded. When the Consul General of France protested, the police said that it was for the protection of my health. On the day of the trial, all the important and key questions from my lawyer were met with silence from the prosecutor as well as the judge. I was sentenced to 3 years in prison and 3 years of house arrest. I then appealed the sentence, and under pressure from the international community, the sentence was reduced to 17 months and 3 years of house arrest. After completing my prison term, I went home and had to continue 3 years of house arrest. This basically means that whenever I leave the house, I must ask for permission. 3 years of house arrest ended, but my life still did not return to normal. Political security police in plain clothes often stood guard outside my house. Once they disguised themselves as thugs, holding knives to prevent us from going out. In mid-2016, I and a number of young people organized a seminar to discuss the United Nations Charter on Human Rights and the Constitution of Vietnam. However, only 15 minutes into the meeting, the police rushed in and arrested all of us. They interrogated me for 3 days. I remember a policeman pointed his finger at me and said ferociously, "Fortunately for you, my son did not attend this class. Otherwise, I would have killed you." Although they didn't arrest me that time, because no crime was found. However, they viewed me as a potentially dangerous person for the regime and found a solution that I didn't expect. In May 2017, the president of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam stripped me of my Vietnamese citizenship, and as such, I was forced to leave Vietnam. I was stunned when I heard the news. This is the second time that my dream has shattered. I immediately wrote a letter to the French ambassador in Hanoi, asking to renounce my French citizenship. I made that decision because I would rather stay in prison in Vietnam than return to Paris for the second time, but it was too late. On June 23, nearly 20 policemen burst into my house to drag me away. I asked them to give me a few minutes to change clothes. They refused, and I was dragged out while only wearing a pair of shorts and a t-shirt. My wife and daughter ran after me, but the police pushed them back into the house and locked the door from the outside. I was taken to a detention center. They asked me to write a letter stating that I would return to France voluntarily, not forced. Of course, I immediately refused. An hour before being taken to the airport, a policeman told me, "I know you haven't changed your mind, but don't forget that your wife and daughter are still in Vietnam." I thought it was not necessary to answer to such threats. At the airport, I asked for a change of clothes. They agreed, but I had to change clothes in the hallway, not in the toilets, and I had to change my clothes in front of nearly 20 security guards standing around. This was a blatant violation of human dignity. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not a criminal. I'm a professor and a writer. Today, I have the honor to share with you what human rights defenders are going through in Vietnam, and I will continue this work for all those who are still in prisons in Vietnam for political reasons. Before concluding, I would like to suggest some concrete actions that you can do to help improve the human rights situations in Vietnam. And strongly condemn and speak out to defend Vietnamese activists, especially during their political trials. demand the Vietnamese authorities to respect their commitments on human rights, especially the right to form independent trade unions. In trade negotiations such as EVFTA, European Vietnam Free Trade Agreement, and TPP, Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement, and if these commitments are not met, there must be strong sanctions. Lobbying governments for applying sanctions using the global Magnitsky Act, because it is one of the most effective forms of protection for human rights defenders and Vietnamese citizens. Thank you for listening for my story.